Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading today from the Srimad-bhagavatam, 8th canto, chapter 3, text 33. Actually, we're reading 2 verses. We're reading this one, which is the last verse of this chapter, and it has no purport, so we don't try to comment on the verses that don't have purports. So we'll read the Sanskrit, the translation, and then we'll go into the first verse of chapter 4. So, Samviksha piritam ajasaha savitirya sagraham ashu sarasa kripayo jaha sagraham ashu sarasa kripayoj jahara grahad vipatita ukhad arina gajendram sankashyatam harir mukchad uchriyanam Samviksha piritam ajasaha sabatirya sagraham ashu sarasa kripayo jahara grahad vipatita mukhad arina gajendram sankashyatam harir amuyuchad uchriyanam Samviksha piritam ajasaha sabatirya sagraham ashu sarasa kripayo jahara grahad vipatita mukhad arina gajendram sankashyatam harir amuchad uchiryanam Samviksha piritam ajasaha sabatirya sagraham ashu sarasa kripayo jahara grahad vipatita mukhad arina gajendram Sampashayatam Harir Amuchad Uchiranan. We're not Sanskrit scholars, but still we try to chant, especially they try. Okay, so word for word synonyms. Tam, him, Gajendra. Viksha, after seeing, or actually, after seeing in that condition. Piritam, who was very aggrieved. Ajaha, the unborn, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sahasa, all of a sudden. Avatirya, getting down from the back of Garuda. Sagraham, with the crocodile. Ashu, immediately. Sarasaha, from the water. Kripaya, out of great mercy. Ujahara, took out. Grahat, from the crocodile. Vipatita, separated. Mukat, from the mouth. Arina, with the disc. Gajendra, Sampashitam, who were looking on. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Amum, him, Gajendra. Uchat, saved. Utriyanam, in the presence of all the demigods. Translation. Therefore, thereafter, seeing Gajendra in such an aggrieved position, the unborn Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, immediately got down from the back of Garuda by his causeless mercy, and pulled the king of the elephants, along with the crocodile, out of the water. Then, in the presence of all the demigods who were looking on, the Lord severed the crocodile's mouth from his body with his disc. In this way, he saved Gajendra, the king of the elephants. Repeat after me. Thereafter, seeing Gajendra in such an aggrieved position, the unborn Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, immediately got down from the back of Garuda. I had this on the screen. Oops. Okay. Anyway. Let me start the translation again here. Thereafter, seeing Gajendra in such an aggrieved position, the unborn Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, immediately got down from the back of Garuda by his causeless mercy, and pulled the king of the elephants along with the crocodile, out of the water. Then, in the presence of all the demigods who were looking on, the Lord severed the crocodile's mouth from his body with his disc. In this way, he saved Gajendra, the king of the elephants. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 3rd chapter of the Srimad-bhagavatam, entitled Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. Krishna does so many exciting, adventurous things. Who would imagine somebody coming and showing up and pulling a king of an elephant and a giant crocodile out of the water and taking his Sudarshan disc and cutting off the head, cutting off the mouth of the crocodile.
God is violent.
But he's merciful to his devotee. So he saved Gajendra in this way. Anyway, there's no purport here, so I shouldn't really speak on the verse, but there's a comment. So we're also going on. So since there's no purport, and we traditionally don't speak on the trying to explain verses that don't have purports. So we'll go to the next verse, which is the first verse of the next chapter. No.
Oh.
No. First. Not next canto. Next. This is chapter 4 of the 8th canto. We just faced chapter 3. There's a little introduction in the beginning, so I'll read that. This chapter is called Gajendra Returns to the Spiritual World. This 4th chapter describes the previous birth of Gajendra and the crocodile. It tells how the crocodile became a Gandharva and how Gajendra became an associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There was a king on the Gandharva planet whose name was Huhu. Once this king, Huhu, was enjoying with women in the water, and while enjoying, he pulled the leg of Devala Rishi, who was also taking a bath in the water. Upon this, the sage became very angry and immediately cursed him to become a crocodile. King Huhu was very sorry when he cursed in that way, and he begged pardon from the sage, who, in comparison, gave him the benediction that he would be freed when Gajendra was delivered by the personality of Godhead. Thus the crocodile was delivered when killed by Narayan. When Gajendra, by the mercy of the Lord, became one of the Lord's associates in Vaikuntha, he got 4 hands. This achievement is called Sarupya Mukti, or the liberation of receiving a spiritual body exactly like that of Narayan. So in spiritual world, Narayan is, we're talking about Narayan and Vishnu yesterday in the question. So in the spiritual world is actually, it's normally known as Narayan, and this Narayan actually came to save Gajendra. Gajendra, in his previous birth, had been a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. His name was Indradyumna, and he was the king of the Tamila country. Following the Vedic principles, this king retired from family life and constructed a small cottage in the Malayachala hills, where he always worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead in silence. Augusta Rishi, along with many disciples, once approached King Indradyumna's ashram, but because the king was meditating, on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could not receive Agastya Rishi properly. Thus, the Rishi became very angry and cursed the king to become a dull elephant. In accordance with his curse, the king was born as an elephant, and he forgot all about his previous activities in devotional service. Nonetheless, in his birth as an elephant, when he was dangerously attacked by the crocodile, he remembered his past life in devotional service and remembered a prayer he had learned in that life. Because of this prayer, he again received the mercy of the Lord. Thus, he was immediately delivered. And because he became one of the Lord's four-handed associates. Sukadeva Goswami ends this chapter by describing the good fortune of the elephant. Sukadeva Goswami says that by hearing the narration of Gajendra's deliverance, one can also get the opportunity to be delivered. Sukadeva Goswami vividly describes this, and thus the chapter ends. Okay, so we can actually get deliverance by hearing this narration of Gajendra, which we've been hearing. Okay, so now we're going to do the Sanskrit for verse 1 of the 4th chapter. Sri Shuka Uvacha Tadadivarshi Gandharva Prameshana Purogamaha Muchu Chumasaram Sangsanta Karmatadare Sri Shuka Uvacha Tadadeva Shri Gandharva Brahmeshana Purogamaha Mamuchu Kushumasarang Sangsanta Karmatadare Sri Shuka Uvacha Tadadeva Shri Gandharva Brahmeshana Purogamaha Mamuchu Kushumasarang Sangsanta Karmatadare Sri Shuka Uvacha Tadadeva Shri Gandharvam Prameshana Purogamaha Mamuchu Kushumasarang Sangsanta Karmatadare Sri Shuka Uvacha Tadadeva Shri Gandharva Prameshana Purogamaha Mamuchu Kushumarasam Sangsanta Karmatadare Word for word. Sri Shuka Uvacha. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Tada! It's not on the screen. No, the translation's on the screen. So just try to hear. Tada! At that time, when Gajendra was delivered, Deva Rishi Gandharvaha, the demigods, sages and Gandharvas, Brahma Ishana Purogamaha, headed by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Just you can try to repeat from what you're hearing, because maybe tomorrow I'll get it on. Add this to the screen. Mamuchu showered. Kushuma Asharam, a covering of flowers. Sang Santaha, while praising. Karma, transcendental activity. Tat, that Gajendra Mokshana. Hare, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, now on the screen. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, when the Lord delivered Gajendra, king of the elephants, all the demigods, sages, and Gandharvas, headed by Brahma and Shiva, praised his activity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and showered flowers upon both the Lord and Gajendra. Repeat after me. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, when the Lord delivered Gajendra, king of the elephants, all the demigods, sages, and Gandharvas, headed by Brahma and Shiva, praised this activity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and showered flowers upon both the Lord and Gajendra. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is evident from this chapter that great sages like Deva Rishi, Narada Muni, and Agastya Muni will sometimes curse someone. The curse of such a personality, however, is in fact a benediction. Both the crocodile, who had been a Gandharva in his previous life, and Gajendra, who had been a king named Indrajumna, were cursed, but both of them benefited. Indrajumna, in the birth of an elephant, attained salvation and became a personal associate of the Lord in Vaikuntha, and the crocodile regained his status as a Gandharva. We find evidence in many places that the curse of a great saint or devotee is not a curse, but is a benediction. So everything's auspicious. Om Ajnana Timiranda Shagina Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, we're continuing on with this wonderful history of Gajendra. And these histories are actually, we can say a story, but actually it's history, his story. It's a history because what is stated in the Vedas it's real. I mean, everything here is has actually happened. It's not that somebody's just making up stories. The only story I know of in the Vedas, which clearly was a story, will come up in, I forget exactly where. There's a story called my God, forgot the name now. I'm sorry. It'll come back. Anyway, it was a story. It was a story told by Narada Muni to King Prachani Barhi. Puranjana, it's called. Anyway, we won't go into the whole Puranjana story right now. It's a little off the subject. But everything that we read about in the Vedas is actually historical knowledge. Even though most people, if they have a little faith in Krishna, they may not accept it like that. And another thing about the Vedas, these histories that are in the Srimad-bhagavatam, is they didn't necessarily all happen on this planet. Srimad-bhagavatam is not restricted to planet Earth. Srimad-bhagavatam is universal. And the histories, some of them took place on heavenly planets, some of them took place in hellish planets, some of them actually took place here on this planet. And in the order in which they're presented here is also not necessarily, you say, chronological order of when they appeared or when they took place. So other than that, the histories are accurate. And that's the reason that things they're not necessarily in the same order, or not necessarily just on something that's happened on planet Earth. The reason is because the great sages like Srila Vyasadeva have put together these histories they have vast knowledge. So they put together all these histories for us poor conditioned souls in such a way that it's just in the right order. That if we study it in that way, we can become Krishna conscious. So, just like when Srimad Bhagavatam starts, right in the very beginning, there's telling about the meeting of the sages of Naimisharanya, and how they were going to perform this 1,000-year-long sacrifice, hearing and chanting about the glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that history was there, but then you get into the history. Some things were a short time before then. Some things were in a previous, somewhere else in the universe. Sometimes some things were actually in previous creations of the universe. But whatever is there is factual and is being presented because there's some lesson to learn there. The Srimad Bhagavatam is full of lessons. So as Srila Prabhupada explains here, sometimes these great sages curse somebody, and you think this curse is, how can they do that? Why couldn't they control their senses But something good comes out of it if it's actually a saintly person who has that ability to curse. So just like there's so many curses. Narada Muni had cursed the two. It's another history. This is in the Krishna book. Narada Muni had cursed two sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and what were the names? We'll come back to it. But the two sons of Kuvera is the treasurer of the demigods, so he's in a very high position, you can imagine. And his sons, they being the sons of a very high placed demigod, they kind of got off the path. They became really debauchees, and they were going and they were playing in the water, naked with different ladies, and enjoying in that way. And then the great sage Narada Muni happened to be passing by, but they were so intoxicated with intoxication and with their absorption and their sense gratification that they didn't even recognize him. They didn't even realize what they were doing. They didn't realize here's a great saint coming by, and at least cover your body like this. So Narada Muni saw this and saw that they were actually in bad condition as for someone in that exalted position. Shri Gauranatai, Shri Radhavitra Vihari, Jagannath, Balarama, Isabhadra, and Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. So he immediately cursed them. Yeah, you're going to be like this. You're dull like this. You like to be standing naked out in public like this. You don't care who sees you. Okay, so therefore I curse you to stand as trees. So there were two trees that these two brothers remained into trees. They gave up their demigod body, and they had to stay as in a tree form for a long time. But it became a benediction because they realized at the last second, before they got cursed, that, we made a big mistake. But, they had to be cursed. So these two trees became twin Arjuna trees, they're called, some kind of tree. And these trees happen to be growing in the courtyard of Krishna's, where Krishna grew up. Nanda Maharaj, when he showed it, they had these two big trees there. But these two trees were actually these great sages, these demigods who had messed up. So they remained there for, I don't know to say how long they remained there. They remained there for a long time. But the benediction, which is what we're talking about here, was that during Krishna's pastimes, at one point, they would be liberated from those trees. And they were when Krishna. You know the Damodar pastime? No? Damodar. Krishna, when he's tied up by Mother Yashoda.
Yes.
Okay. So during that pastime, he's tied up to a big wooden grinding mortar. They didn't use blenders and spice grinders and those things, and they had big, huge things, and you ground your spices and everything on a stone on the ground. So there's a big grinding mortar, very heavy, and Krishna was being naughty, so he was tied up by Mother Yashoda, tied to the grinding mortar, so he couldn't get in trouble. So he was like that, but Krishna was not an ordinary child, so he was, very strong. So he just started crawling away when Mother Yashoda was not watching, and he crawled between those two Arjuna trees, and the grinding mortar caught them, and he just kept crawling, and he pulled them down. It's Krishna. So he did like that. Nobody understood what had gone on, except for some children that were watching the whole thing. So when the children said, yeah, Krishna just crawled in between and he pulled the trees down. Children, so many stories. But actually, it happened that way. And when they pull the trees down, he kills the trees, and these two demigods, now remember, Nalakuver and Manigriva, those are the names of the two sons. So they were liberated, but now they learned their lesson, and they were actually in tree bodies. They were actually seeing and understanding what was going on around them in Krishna's pastime. So they became actually great devotees of the Lord. So anyway, that was a curse. The purport here is talking about great sages cursing. So that was one such curse, but it turned out to be benediction. They both became liberated souls because of this. And then what are the curses? There were some other. There are others that will come to mind. And these sages here that were being mentioned, Augusta Muni, Devla Rishi. So they cursed. They made their curses, but the Gajendra, the king, became the elephant. But he went back to Godhead after that birth, and the Gandharvas are the demigods. Their Gandharvas are especially famous for being very nice singers. They can sing very nicely. So they were. So this person who was a Gandharva, a demigod, had gotten cursed, but when he became the crocodile. But he was again, when he was killed, then he was returned to his Gandharva form to continue enjoying in the heavenly planets, like that. So, and in so many ways, whether it's officially a curse or not, so many ways things under Lord Krishna's control or under the control of the saintly persons, we in so many ways we may think that some difficult situation is really bad, a curse or something really bad is happening to us. But if we understand that Krishna is in control and Krishna is allowing it, or maybe completely orchestrating this something that's happened in our lives, then we'll see that ultimately it was Krishna's blessing. These curse or these difficult situations always turn out in the end to be something that is good for us. Narada Muni himself, great sage Narada Muni, everyone knows who Narada Muni is, right? No? Okay. Narada Muni is actually the son, or one of the sons, of Lord Brahma. And Narada Muni had previously Narada Muni had actually been a demigod in a previous life. Narada Muni was a demigod, and he was a very popular guy. He was very popular, and he also had his girlfriends there, and he would attract them, and he would sing very nice, mundane love songs and those kind of things to them, and then the demigods, they're devotees of Krishna, so they also do Sankirtan. They also sing and perform congregational glorification of the Lord. So he didn't. When all the other demigods were taking part in this, he didn't take part. He was a little covered by his, sense gratification with these heavenly damsels, and he was singing mundane songs as when the Sankirtan party moved by. So he didn't glorify Krishna. He was glorifying some material personalities instead of joining in with the glorification of Krishna. So the other demigods saw this, and they were very upset that this boy, this young demigod, was doing like this, and they cursed him because you're acting in this way. You have no sense, so therefore you have to take your birth as a Shudra, as a low class person. You're not a demigod. You go down to, I'm not sure if this was it Earth or where this took place after he fell from the heavenly planets. But they made him. They cursed him that you have to take this low birth, and then so he was born. His mother was they were Shudra. Shudra means Shudra is not a bad thing. It just means a laborer class. It's not Brahmin. It's not Kshatriya. It's not Vaishya. It's the Shudra level, people who work for the rest of society, which is actually not a bad thing. It's sociologically it's lower level. Sudra basically means your tendency is in the mode of ignorance, pretty much, and then you gradually elevate yourself by becoming elevated by serving the upper higher classes in society. Anyway, his mother was like a simple lady, and he was her son. So during the 4 months of the rainy season, the Chaturmasya it's called. Chaturmasya means 4 months. When in India, it's just like it rains. I mean, it rains a lot, and you can't travel anywhere, especially if you're traveling everywhere by walking. You just can't travel. So during that 4 months of the rainy season, some devotees were passing through, advanced devotees. They were passing through, and they traditionally during those 4 months when it starts to rain, they stop and somebody hosts them for 4 months. They stay in that place, and whoever's house they're staying in, they offer some service and maybe cook for them or like that. And then they get the person who has the house, who's giving shelter, they also, of course, get a lot of benefit, spiritual benefit, because they're going to hear and maybe hear the conversations, hear the chanting, maybe have an opportunity to ask questions like that. It's like having someone stay in your house and you're having Srimad-bhagavatam Class every day and you're attending the class like that. So that happened in the house where he wasn't Narada Muni in that birth, but that boy, he was there with his mother and assisting these sages for 4 months, and he would sometimes hear a little. He would hear what they were speaking, and they gave him a little knowledge about how to practice devotional service. And then one day, he automatically became attracted, very attracted, and actually started following the path of devotional service. He wasn't previously. So he was in that way. He was, and then his mother, while he was still a young boy, his mother got bit by a snake and died. So here's this young boy, he had no father, and the sages had already gone on their way. So, here his young boy, his mother died, and he's by himself. So he just started wandering here and there, but he learned about chanting, he learned about devotional service, and he just he traveled everywhere, walking around and practicing devotional service, and ultimately he became fully Krishna conscious. And then, uh, and then his next birth, immediately upon dying, giving up his material body, he immediately became the next creation, I guess, he became the first son, or one of the first sons of Lord Brahma in the new creation, but as a pure devotee of Krishna. So he had a spiritual body. Even Lord Brahma doesn't have a spiritual body, but Narada Muni had a spiritual body, and he's known very well for his one who preaches Krishna consciousness everywhere, all over the universe. Anyway, we're talking about curses. I'm sorry, I got off the track, but I had to give a little background. So Narada Muni, I don't remember the exact circumstance now at the moment, but he got cursed. He got cursed, and and the curse was actually a benediction, but he was told, okay, I'm cursing you that you will never be able to stay in one place and enjoy life. So if there's someone who's materialistic, you tell someone you gotta keep moving all the time. You can never stay in one place. You can never enjoy anything in life. You gotta constantly travel. So he couldn't stay for more than a few minutes or a few minutes anywhere. That was the curse. But he didn't take it as a bad thing, because he could travel anywhere, and he does travel anywhere, and he's constantly traveling all over the universe. Narada Muni he's a spiritual master of, we talked about Dhruva Maharaj the other day. He's the spiritual master of Dhruva Maharaj. He was the spiritual master of, we talked about King Puranjana, Prachini Barhi. I mentioned the story, the Puranjana story. So Narada Muni was the one who told him that story. He gave guidance to King Chitraketu when he was lamenting about a son that had died. So he gave him help there. And Narada Muni was the spiritual master of Prahlad Maharaj, who we know who Prahlad Maharaj is. You know? Prahlad Maharaj? No? Okay. Prahlad Maharaj, who the Nrsingadev is. Lion, half man incarnation, Nrsingadev. Like on the altar in the front, on the wooden, that's Lord Nrsingadev. So Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Nrsingadev, he is a very powerful incarnation of the Lord, who came at a time to save his devotee, Prahlad. Prahlad is a pure devotee of Krishna. There's a deity of Prahlad in there, he's about this big on the altar. So you may not see him, but he's there. So anyway, that's a long history right there. So maybe we won't go totally into it right now. But anyway, Narada Muni, because of his curse and constantly having to travel, he went to so many different people, made them into devotees of Krishna. So he guided Prahlad Maharaj. He guided there's many. He guided a hunter who gave up his hunting, of course, named Mrigari, who liked to kill animals, not just kill them, but he liked to see them suffer. And Narada Muni convinced him to give that up and become a saintly person. Anyway, Narada Muni is very famous, but he's because he was cursed, so he can not stay in any one place for more than a couple of minutes. So he's constantly preaching, but he can go anywhere in the material universe, anywhere in the spiritual world. He's got a spiritual body. Anyway, there's a lot of examples of curses by different sages that actually end up being enhancing one's devotional service. These days, nobody has such ability to curse like that. And if they did, they probably wouldn't. It may not be really for someone's benefit. But when these saintly persons did this, then it was for great benefit for that personality and for maybe many others personalities. Maybe let me just stop here. And are there any questions? Everyone has questions. What are the questions? I'm not seeing anything displayed online, so I'm not sure. But as far as here, anything I need to clarify? Nothing? Okay, so then we'll end here, and tomorrow's Friday, isn't it? So tomorrow, then we'll be reading Srila Prabhupada Nectar book. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.